Okay, so this video is going to give you a look at the creation of the first page of Into the House, Volume 9, Untitled. Um, sort of some words before I actually get started. If it seems like I kind of cut in and out on the narration, it's because I really, I really can't juggle two things at once. So, you see when I get into working, I might go silent a little bit or mumble or kind of talk through the process without explaining it as I should. Just a heads up, when that happens, that's going to be what it is I've kind of shifted focus onto the task at hand and have just kind of blanked out the audience. It's nothing against you guys, but it's just how I work. Also because sometimes in this process there's sort of lulls in the work while I've got to wait for something. You may notice the video you may notice cuts in the video. I don't know how much it's going to happen, but it can. For example, sometimes the renders take longer to produce than the work of modifying the page to prepare for those renders. So I think just to keep this from being like a stop and wait video, I'll end up cutting if there's a lull in the work. So just a heads up for that. Basically, I make sure I'm on keyframe 1 so that I can always undo everything back to keyframe 0 when I'm ready to clear somebody out. Here's my cast of characters. We're going to go first page into Allison's room, so I'll open up the furniture list, make sure Allison's room is visible. Since I don't need the kitchen and the living room, we'll turn those off, and every other room is off. Now I'll select Allison, and we'll just put her in the room. If I can find the little translator. It's done. Okay, why is this? Come on, don't lie. So I'm gonna grab this, and her room is back here somewhere. So we'll put her over there. Since I'm not going to use the rest of these characters, we'll select everybody else and then just dump them into the clothes folder so they disappear. See, they're gone. Now I'll select Allison again and we'll focus on her. And I've got to... Oh my god, this thing just zoomed out. She's not even in the room. And we've got problems with the windows. Okay, so we'll have to stop and fix these windows for a minute, just in the offhand that. So we'll go to our structure. This one's labeled girls' room. Window, and it so it's where it's supposed to be. I don't know what's going on with those windows, but okay, so we fixed that just in case. Gotta select her again. We're going to put her at the computer. This is still We'll put her over at the computer. We'll turn her around. This is select the Y rotation. This is 90 degrees negative. And now, since we need to play with the chair, we'll go back into furniture. Allison's room. The chair is parented to the desk, so I'll select the chair and unparent it so that I can play with it without having to come back into the folder. Since I don't really know where I need the chair, we'll pose Allison first and then move the chair around her. So I select and this is lagging. And we'll pose them down. We want her hard at work at whatever she's doing. Now we'll pose her to the desk. Come on. Straight in the chair. Come on. And as you can see, let's grab the chair, move it back a little bit. Okay. Move her back. Select the thighs. We've got to bend them down. That should be good enough. Now we'll just have her kind of hunched over a little bit. And I don't think anybody sits up perfectly straight when working on their computer. Let's move her in as well. And then we've got to select the chair. Position the arm. Sooner or later here. Better not have to turn our clothes off or something. This is going to be annoying. I don't usually get this kind of a lag unless there's a lot of stuff in the set. Okay, that's good enough. Find the right shoulder. Rotate around. I'm going to pull you back a little bit. You know what? I think this will be the first cut. I'm going to try and figure out what is going on with this lag. Because this should not be happening. So we'll come back when we've figured it out. Okay, we figured it out. And we finished staging the scene. Threw up a generic image onto the computer. So it looks like she's doing something. And now we'll render the picture. tend to create these in 1920 by 1080, unless I'm doing odd-sized panels. That's the standard, because it allows me to do more than I need, and I can cut it off, so I don't need to worry about the extra space on the end. On the top and on the panels at the top, a little bit of the top of the image will get cut off. Those at the bottom, a little bit of the bottom will get cut off automatically. And then I just give it an image name. And my standard has usually been to give it 2-digit. The first 2 digits represent the day. And then the second set will represent the sequence within the day. Not that it really means much, it's just to keep it organized. If I ever need to come back and figure out, well, which day did such and such happen, I've got the file names to tell me. I can say, okay, that happened on the 3rd distinct day. And like for my reference, it doesn't have to be the specific day within their universe. It's the distinct day that's featured. So, if the first day in the book is day 1, is a Monday, let's say it's a Monday, and it'll get the distinction of day 1. If I end up skipping ahead to Thursday for the next sequence, it'll get day 2, because it's the second day I'm filming, or shooting, or working in. There's really no complex reason for it. It's just a system to keep the images straight whenever I have to go back and see when if I ever need to go back and figure out when something happened. So this will be image 0101 because it's the first picture of the series, and then we'll hit render in a moment. It's the thing with DAZ Studios, if you've ever worked with it, is it's got 3 separate render engines: Intermediate OpenGL, NVIDIA Iray, and 3Delight. And sort of for Shrimp of the House and that universe, I'll use the OpenGL engine because it gives me sort of a slightly cartoonish look to it. With everything else, with everything in like the Muscle Growth universe, like Little Bro, My Twin No More, Friends Forever, and all that, I'll use 3Delight because it gives a more realistic look, but it's still not photorealistic. It has a slight off quality to it that sort of reminds you're reading a comic. It sort of like at least tells me like you're in a comic and not a photo book. NVIDIA Iray is sort of is a lot more interesting, but it's slow to render, especially with sets as big as I work in. Intermediate OpenGL, I'll give you an idea. I'll hit render now, and to give you an idea, while I wait for the picture to render, I'll then come over to my pre-made grid in GIMP. I work in GIMP and not Photoshop. And I've got a lot of the basics pre-made. So I have a grid telling me to give me an idea where the pictures go, and these lines will end up serving as the dividers between the image when the page gets flattened. And then I'll have a couple pre-made speech bubbles that I can play around with, and sometimes, depending on how much text I use, or depending on what I'm doing with the narration, I've got a generic text bubble. And then this was just the image I put together for her computer screen. I can close that because I'm done with that. So actually, what I want for the first panel is we're going to start it off with a text bubble, the narrator, the generic narrator. So I hit Control C. Let me go back and show you. So I bring up this window and hit Control C to copy it. And then I'll come in here and go paste as new layer. Make sure it's at the top. And I can resize this. And then I'll select the text and put it over the box. And I usually work in caps locks, and we use this text at size 10. Sometimes I'll use 11 or 12 depending on the story, but it depends. The idea is I want the text big enough for you to read it on your device without really taking up too much of the page. Oh, see, and while I was explaining that, here's the picture that comes up. Everything looks good enough, so I'll hit save. Back here, sort of if I wasn't talking to you guys, what I'd be doing is typing in the text into the box. With this font, I'll always do it in caps lock because it looks better to me than with mixed upper lowercase letters. And we'll say it was a quiet night in the Smith household until, and I gotta change the color because I was working in and off color, so let's see if this works. And we gotta go black. Okay, see, there we go. And then I'll highlight this and bold it. Oh, excuse me. Because for some reason it doesn't seem dark enough if it's not in bold. And now I'm going to resize this and see if I can come up with something a little more square. And then let's see if I can get this A to a next line. Okay, that looks good to me. So then we'll go to the box and we'll resize this around. I think in the earliest stories, I would just simply scale it down, but I've kind of adopted a pattern of trimming out the excess and just pasting it. So we go edit, cut these pieces, and now that I need the end, I go edit, paste as new layer, and there's my end as a new layer. And I can move that and line it up with the rest of the box. I can make the box smaller, merge down. Select none. Now we'll trim the bottom. Cut. Edit, cut that, edit, paste as new layer. So grab that and move that up, line it up, and the box will look seamless. Hopefully. Select none. And then if I wasn't talking to you guys, I'm like, okay, there's the picture. We got the picture. So now I gotta go grab the picture. File, open as layers, and I'll usually put it in the root directory. Since this is Shrimp of the House 9, the file folder for this project is SOTH9, and there's picture 1. And now we gotta scale it. Layer. Scale. With the top and bottom panels, we scale it at 34%. If this is the standard 1080 by whatever it is, size 1080 by 1920. We'll put the picture in the box, bring it down below the thing. I can move this, that looks good there, and we'll move the text, make sure it's somewhat centered. I'm going to get off, and that looks good. Now I got to figure out where do I want to trim the picture. I usually pick one of the 3 center lines, sometimes in the off-sized. If I need a picture to be a little wider without going full length, I'll take one of these outliers, but not usually. So I'm gonna hold off because I'm not really sure what the next picture is gonna need at this point. So we'll go in the scene. The next one is going to be, I parked all my characters in clothes. This one's going to be David, so we'll take him out on parent. And since this is going to take place in the living room, I can turn off Allison's room. Let's put the living room back on. I don't think I'm going to be grabbing the kitchen yet, but the door to the master bedroom is going to be open, so we'll put that on. Now that we've got furniture on, let's select David and we'll focus on him. Now this one's going to be funny. So we'll bring him over to the door. Let's open the door. See, here's where the doors come in. Master door, master bedroom, open. We select the door itself. Whoops, I gotta make sure I'm in the parameters pane, not the surface. And we will open the door. Now let's turn David 90 degrees. Kind of position him toward the door. Let's turn him a little bit so it looks like he's going that way. Focus on him again, and I gotta get back in the room. Okay. Now, we're gonna start off with we're going to start off with like the surprise opening, so we're going to scale him down to half. No. Let's go 3/4. Okay. And then I hit Control D to bring him down to the floor. Bring him back down to the floor. Now the size changer, this thing called remote, is here somewhere. Let's see. He is at negative 287 and 263. So 7 and 283. That doesn't need to be perfect. So we're going to position, then we kind of rotate it a bit and rotate it. Let's select the rotation and do it this way. There we go. Okay, now we need to bring the translator back. Let's try and get it in his hand. I can focus on that for a bit. Okay, so I'm going to grab his hand, and we are going to open his hand up a bit, right? And now we need fingers straighten. Fingers straighten. We'll open the spread, and we can move this a little bit. Okay, none of the fingers disappear, but the thumb has got to come out a bit. Down is good. And then we just gotta kind of move this into his fingers like that. Good enough for what we need. Okay, so now I gotta parent it to his hand. This is the right hand. So we bring it to the right hand. That way, whenever I move the hand, the remote goes with it. So we're gonna bring this back up. We'll move this arm back a little bit. See how the remote stays with his hand. Turn it. So now we'll take his left hand and give it a little bit more of a natural look so it doesn't look so static. And we'll make it look like he's walking, so for some reason all these parameters are not are unlimited, so we use limits to make this easy. When it comes to the head, I end up favoriting my favorite properties, or the ones I use the most. So we're going to make him look angry. He's going to be angry, of course. But we don't need the brow scrunched. He's going to be yelling here, so we're going to be going inner up, and then open his mouth because we want him yelling. And I think what we're going to do is have him sort of looking up at this. Sort of look like a throwing up the hands in frustration. And why are all these parameters unlimited? Throwing up the hands. Spread that and then straighten the fingers a bit. Actually, you know, this would be funnier if it was close up, so maybe you don't, maybe in the first panel you don't quite notice that he's off-sized. Although it's going to be hard to notice, but still. Actually, this leg needs to go back. And it's good enough. Okay, so right here, changes to O2, the next in the series, and we'll hit render. And while we're doing that, we'll come over here, we'll grab a bubble, and we will edit, paste as new layer, and there is our word bubble. Now I will add a layer transform. Let's flip it horizontally. And actually, you know what? I'm rethinking this. Let's bring you up here. Let's bring you up there and put you up here. Okay, then I need to flip the text back. Transform, flip vertically that way. Okay. It's a quiet night in the Smith household until. That's it. I've had it. Let's see. That's it. I've had it. I'm getting rid of this thing once and for all. Highlight that and put it in bold. That's it. I've had it. And we're going to kind of mess with this a little bit. Hopefully get something that looks a little more uniform. Okay, now we'll take the bubble, fix it around the text, and now we will start to cut it and paste it. Edit, we will cut that off, select none so I can see how it lines up. And we go paste as new layer, and then we will move this, basically making the bubble smaller. Okay, so that looks good. We will merge that down, and then we'll start to trim this off. Cut off the excess, edit, cut, select none, edit, paste as. And then we will fit this into place. Like that, it's good enough. Lined up, yep, okay, so merge down. And there is our picture. Just came up. I've had it save. We'll go File, Open as Layers, come into the root folder and open the picture. Now we go layer scale, 34. And we move him into place as I've had it. Bring it down below the bubbles. And now we will start trimming the pictures. I'll line it up with the edge of this line. And go edit, cut, and there we go. Now we'll bring it so it's on the other edge of the line for this picture. Edit, cut. Select none, and it's lined up with the guideline. Okay, good. We got rid of the doorknob, so the doorknob would have been an interesting guide to see that he's smaller than he should be. So without the doorknob, it might be harder to tell. It might be more of a surprise. The first time we see him with this situation. So the other thing I've been doing with the last few stories is I've been giving these images a 1 pixel black border. So what I do is select the layer below the first picture and go layer, new layer, and it'll fill it with the foreground color, which should be the black. Yep, okay. Then I'll select the first picture, the layer to image size, and I'll grab the fuzzy select tool and select everything outside because I've got it select transparent layers. Select transparent areas is selected, so it's got everything on the outside. I'll come down to the black layer, and we'll cut that. Select the picture again, and then paste the remains. I don't know if it's any better, but it annoys me a little less to paste the remains of the old layer rather than create a new layer each and every time. So I come back to the picture. The outside is still selected, so I will select the invert, and then I will select and hit shrink. And it's already going by 1 pixel, so I go OK. Then I will select invert again so that it's selecting everything outside, including that 1 pixel line around the image. And then I'll go edit, cut. And I will select none so I can see it, turn this off, and if you look really close, you can see the 1 pixel black border around the image. And then I will merge that down. I'll bring back the layer and do it again with this one. Layer to image size, fuzzy select the outside, grab my black background, edit, cut, and I will paste the remains above the picture. I'll turn that off for now. Grab my picture again, select invert, select shrink, okay, select invert, edit, cut. Select none, and you might be able to see the 1 pixel black border around that one. And I'll go merge down. There's my guide. Let's save what we got. So I will go File, Save As, because I don't want to save this as the generic guide. So I will go Save As, and here's where I'm going to save it. Pretty much when I start a project, I will have the root folder with the book title. And then inside that folder, I'll have the individual books for each of the 24-page parts. There'll be a folder for the characters and a folder for files. But we've got the folder, since this is book 1, we come into the folder for book 1. All the images used will end up in this folder. But there's another folder for the pages by themselves where I put the generic guide. And because I don't want to rename this the guide, this will be called page 01. And the O is important because otherwise when I get to page 11, it'll order that one after page 1 instead of after page 10. Or actually, page 10 will be ordered after page 1. So the 01 kind of keeps those first 9 pages together. So we've renamed that one. We'll save that as the GIMP file so I can come back if I need to. And I will come back to here. Okay, so now for panel 3, we're gonna come back to Allison. Let's focus on Allison, which means we need to put furniture back. I'm gonna take her away, so let's spin the chair as if it's been moved out of the way. We're gonna select these, and we are going to delete the keys, and then we'll hit Control D to bring her to the floor. And also we've got to straighten out these. Delete. See, it's always easier to just delete everything than to reset it sometimes. We're going to turn her so she's looking at as if she's going for the door. I'm going to make her in sort of a walking pose, even though we're not really going to see much. We'll give our hands sort of a more natural look. That's probably too much. Doesn't need to be perfect, because nobody stands perfect, so. And we'll up. She can glare. She's going to look awful annoyed. I'm not sure that's annoyed enough. And there we go. Throw in a bit of concentration. Yeah, okay. We'll change it to number 3 is next in line. And we will hit render. And I'll come back. I'll just pick a bubble because it doesn't matter. What I'm going to do, we'll come here, edit, where are we? Paste as, new layer. We need to select the grabber thing, and we'll just move this. That's it. Made. David, you're being ridiculous again. Oops, no. Exclamation point. Ugh. Okay, we'll highlight that and put it in bold. Let's make this smaller. Oops, and we're going to bring these over. And now we're going to resize this. Since this is going to be a bubble with nobody pointed at nobody, I don't need the little tail, so select none. I'll go Control-C to copy this piece because I don't want the piece I just cut. And I'll go edit, paste as new layer. And you won't see it until we go layer, transform, flip vertically, and there it is. Trim this a bit, so that. Okay, that's lined up, so where's our piece? Just gonna cut off a bit of it just in case. None. Okay, and now I can trim the edge. Whoops, I forgot to merge that down. Undo cut. And there's our picture. It's annoying me. It wants to stay in the forefront, so Give it a quick look. Everything looks okay, so we will go save. When we come back here, we'll finish what we were doing. Okay, now we can cut that. Like none, edit, paste as new layer, and there's the end. See, now it's a closed bubble. Oops. That's good, right? Yep. So merge that down. Now I'll open File, Open as Layers. We gotta go to the root directory, and there's picture 3. Now, for the middle ones, for those in the middle row, these get scaled 33%. Because at the top and bottom, we scale them a little larger because they go off the page. I just don't care, but here we want it a little more. So, now let's bring her below the bubble. David, you're being ridiculous again. We'll trim this here because it's not enough in the picture to really. Showcase. So we'll just position the bubble. It's going to overlap the images. And okay. Now we come here. Now we'll turn off her room again. Let's find David and focus on him. I think we'll put him at the door. Let's see, move him to the door. Focus on him. And we're going to rotate him squarely 180 at the 180 degree mark. Sort of move his legs, just so it looks like it's not the same pose. Make it look like he's reaching for the door handle. Twist. Twist. Oops. See, and that's what I mean about, I think in the previous video, about like going through the walls. That's why I need this. That's why these rooms are oversized. So I can get the camera angles without having to take out walls. Zoom in closer so that this is a bigger picture. Grab his head again. There we go. I think he's going to make a big speech here, so it doesn't really matter too much. We'll go to render. This can be a 104 and render. Now, we're going to need this guy, I think. And there's always the chance that... Oh, yeah, okay. There's always the chance that this gets changed. And I have to do this all over again because I change my mind once the picture is here. But... So he's going to make a big speech. And let's see, David, you're being ridiculous again. I'm being ridiculous. This keeps happening to me. Oops, exclamation point. Not you. And I'm going to fix this. Oops, I don't need to hit shift because this is already caps. Every time I have to wait 2 days for this thing to wear off because you keep using it after so we gotta sort of be careful to word this because I don't want to completely give it away until the left panel of the page. Every time I have to wait 2 days for this thing, you keep using it after me. See, the idea is because is I always recap how this thing works, even after 8 stories and 1 spin-off, because I always imagine somebody's picking up the series with this story and then going back. Oh, and there's the picture. There we go. Looks good to me. Good enough, so. Okay, I think that's good for his speech, so we'll bold that. And Control Z will fix that. GIMP keeps doing that. Let's see. Nope. Okay, so we're gonna see if we can stretch this out. Basically, what I want to do is try and make this look somewhat balanced. Which I've got it. Okay, so now we want to italicize some of the words to stress. So he wants to stress I'm, so I'm going to italicize that. I'm being ridiculous. This keeps happening to me. Stress me. Oops, not unbold. Not you. Every time I have to wait 2 days for the similar. No, let's put a comma there. Every time, comma, I have to wait 2 days for this. Okay. That kind of gets across the point without really spinning. Control C, and we will go edit, paste as, new layer. Select none so I can see the lines. And here we go. Now I think we merge down, and yep, it's lined up. So I'll go Control C, edit, paste as, new layer, select none, and we go merge down. There we go. Let's give it a little more space. Oops, that's not lined up. That's lined up, right? Yep, okay. Merge down. Now let's bring the picture in. Open as layers, come to the root directory, click on 104. Now, layer scale 33. Scale. That looks good, right? Okay. Now we'll give these 2 pictures the border, layer to image size, fuzzy select the outside. Let's bring our box, edit, cut. There, edit, paste as, new layer. Select, invert, select, not grow, god damn it. Select, shrink, 1, okay, select, not none, undo, select, invert, edit, cut, merge down. Come to this picture, layer to image size, select, edit, cut, select, invert, select, shrink, okay, select, invert, and I keep forgetting to do this every now and then, so we will paste layer before we come over here and hit edit, cut. Because if I hit edit, cut, then it puts the cut portion in the clipboard instead of the extra background. And select none. There we go. That's it, I've edited it. Okay, so now we're going to take him outside, which is going to be a challenge because I don't have a full universe out there. So I'm going to have to be careful about staging these scenes. Ugh. select the leg. Kind of, it doesn't have to look perfect, it just has to look close. Okay, and we've got a... Whoops, wrong way. There we go. Okay, now we're going to have him looking at the garbage bin. And... oh my god. Okay, we'll have to do a down shot. Oh my god. There has to be some down shot. Great. Let's see. There we go. Wow. Kind of. Okay. And I think we will do the text bubble at the bottom. I'm getting rid of this. While I'm seeing it, this needs to be centered a little better. So let's paste that other text bubble. Let's rotate it. Rotate 180, and we will bring it toward the bottom. The trash where it should have gone. And we will fix this. I want to make sure this is new trouble ever again. Let's do that. Okay, that's all centered, and again we've got this below. We will Control-C that portion, edit, not cut, edit, undo cut. Edit, paste as, new layer. Select none. And it looks good, right? Yep, lined up. So we can merge down, select the bottom, edit, cut, select none, edit, paste as, new layer. Merge down. See the square style of boxes I adopted from way in the beginning kind of goes back to the idea that this is being created for Kindle, and because when this is completely done, I'll process it in a program called Kindle Comic Creator that allows me to put zoomable boxes around images and texts and the text. And because those boxes are rectangular, I do try to make sure everything is somewhat... I do keep in mind that everything is rectangular to sort of maximize those boxes. So if I create a box around the text bubble, the square box, the square bubble fits within the square panel, the square box, so that there's not a lot of empty space, whereas if it was like a round bubble inside a square box, you'd have a lot of space at the corners. And at the same time, because I'm making the text a little bigger than it would be if this were sort of print on a printed page, I want to try and keep the text itself as compact as possible so that I'm not wasting space in an image. Whereas if this was round, if this was a round bubble, you'd start off with like a very short line, then a line that's a little bit longer, and so on until you get to the middle, and then the lines would get shorter, and you just have all the wasted space on the image. Whereas the square text allows me to fit it within like the corner of a box, in sort of like this empty space here, the empty space here, because it's, you know, all this part of the desk is just there for visual noise on the page, so I can afford to cover it without killing, you know, your enjoyment as the reader. We'll take our picture, save, file, open as layer, find our picture, and we will scale it by 34. Okay. Now, because I don't have the guide to guide me, I've got to turn the picture off and do this without the picture. So I'll select the edge, put the picture on just to see how it goes, and then I will go edit, cut, and select none to make sure I've got it and it's not looking like this, you know, that it's like I didn't cut too much and have this, and sort of have this black line. So we'll go undo move layer to put it where it was. Going in the trash where it should have gone the very first day you brought it in this house. I want to make sure this thing never causes me trouble ever again. Okay, and I wasn't initially counting on this, so I'm gonna have to go to the timeline. Let's go back to keyframe 0. This will reset everything. Excuse me. And let's zoom in on him, because I want to add a character. We'll merge a file. So I gotta remember where this character was. So here's the folder with all the stories. You know, if you're really interested, number 26 is the first Shrimp of the House story. And if you want to know why I don't just renumber it SOTH1, it's because it's part of the package. It's part of the package for each book. I end up creating images that go into this file. Like, for example, these pictures. No, I don't think those pictures, but like the family photos are all created specifically for the story, and then they'll be saved in a folder and then loaded onto the frames. So whenever I load the program and it goes searching for those pictures, it always looks in the folder that they were loaded from. And at the time I was working on this, the folder for Shrimp of the House was originally numbered 26. Which maybe I'll go into some other time. So, in those pictures that get carried over from story to story, every time I revamp the set but leave those pictures in place, the file will always look for folder 26 for those pictures to load. Because it doesn't save the pictures as part of the file. All it does is save the directory, save the direction. But anyway, I think the last time I saw these people was here. So characters, friends, this is 07, this would be Aiden's bully. Neighbors. We want a neighbor, so we'll bring in Kyle. Kyle's the one I want. The one that lives next door. You might remember from the very first Shrimp of the House, they were the neighbors who showed up and were also into the size change fun. And I will tell you, way back when I started that story, they were only introduced because I was planning to do a spin-off right from story 1 using them that I never got around to doing. And there's Kyle. So we'll go back to keyframe 1. It'll put everybody back in place, and now we'll move Kyle out there. Oops, and okay. Kyle, come on. Okay. It's on 90 degrees. Well, anyway, the spin-off I was planning to do at the time was to basically just do maybe a short adventure of him playing with the kids. At a small size. Maybe someday I'll still do it, but I've just never gotten I've just never had the motivation to actually do it. Let's see. Since okay, so the front of the bin is here, we'll put him over there and turn him around. This bin doesn't actually open, so we've got to cheat this. Come on. So we've basically got to cheat this. You see this all the time in TV movies. When they don't want to show something, they'll cheat it. And you, the viewer, will never notice that they cheated it. You know, I don't know how many of you are fans of the Stargate series, but whenever they don't want to show the Kawoosh of the Stargate, they'll always put it off screen. And you never realize it because maybe they'll play the sound. Maybe they'll play the sound to fool you into thinking the Kawoosh was there. But that's what we're doing. The bin doesn't open, so I've got to cheat this. I've got to make it look like he's going to open it, but never actually showing him opening it. I can bring you down. Oh shoot, we're gonna have to... Oh shoot, no. But, oops. Do that undo. Basically, if you remember that sequence when these two were playing with the kids, basically the spin-off would have been him doing something. Would have been just an issue of him doing the same similar thing in his home with his kids. It's gonna be just like one long extended adventure. Okay. He can close his mouth because he's not gonna be talking. And let's go from angry to slightly scared. And he's gonna be looking up. And now he's gonna be coming over. Whoops, favorite. No, there we go. That looks good, right? Actually, I have a feeling because this is a small panel. I've got to get them close in order to fit in the size I gave them. And his mouth isn't open enough, so we're going to open it up a little more. Open wide. That's the thing. That's the thing too. Is like sometimes in order to see something on the page, the movements within this world have to be exaggerated more so than they really should be. That looks good, right? Okay. Page 6. Oops. And we will render that. And I want this one. Control C. Where's my... Oh my god. I may end up having to trim this down a bit. He says... Layer transform this way. This might not work. Okay. Afternoon, Dave. Dave or David? Let's call him David. Hey, David. Having fun with the family, I see. We'll say afternoon. We're going to call it afternoon because if this is trash day, it's going to be a weekday, and since this is September, maybe October, these kids wouldn't exactly be home if he said good morning. The kids wouldn't be home. So see, if it's afternoon, then I clearly indicate that the kids are home from school and they get late trash pickup. Did I bold that? No. Okay, so we bold that. They get late trash pickup. See, that's how you kind of justify. You sort of like make up these things. So if ever anybody writes in and goes, well, how can they be doing that at this time of day or whatever, or you think something's a plot hole, you always create some way to get around it. So that's the rationale. Like, yes, this is a school day, but this is after school. They get late trash pickup. No, I want to go here. See, I'm like having fun here, and now I'm not even paying attention. There we go. Oh, and I've got the picture, so let's go. And we go file, open as layers, part 6. $34. Oh, it fits, see? There we go. That's the benefit of bringing them as close together as I can. I'm going to turn you off so I can see the guide. Edit. Cut. Select none. Okay, now I get to move the word bubble so it's a little more logical. Let's see, that's good. It doesn't need to be pointing at his face. You kind of cheat, as long as it's pointing at him. Okay, now I need a similar one, so let's just, instead of taking a full-size bubble, let's take this one, Control-C that, and then paste as new layer. This one I will transform and rotate it 180, and bring it down so David is talking. Because he's just going to grumble. That expresses his frustration. And edit, cut. Edit, cut, select none, and let's not paste it yet. Let's move this over. And then now we'll paste, edit, paste as new layer. That, okay. I'll trim this a little bit. No, it's not. Okay, because it's overlapping the tail, I've got to trim it a bit. Cut. Merge down. And edit, cut. Cut, select none, edit, paste as new layer. And then we'll move this. I don't know where to put that. That looks good. As you can probably tell, I'm like one of those who makes up a lot of it as I go. I come into the story with a general idea of what I want to do, but I'm not somebody who has to have the whole thing planned out from page to page, panel to panel, start to finish, because a lot of the ideas do come up as a result of working with the set. And a lot of the storyline points I can't exactly work out in my head until I get to working on the story itself. And then the idea of working on the story helps me brainstorm almost as much, if not more, than sort of planning the story in the beginning. So, a story can end up going in a direction that I never would have seen unless I started. So one example is with the last book I worked out, the Iron Brotherhood, Tyler. When I created the set for his workplace, it was supposed to be like a one-off scene. It was supposed to just be like a what is he doing now kind of moment, and then the sequence with his coworker was supposed to just be a one-off joke. Invert, select, shrink, okay, select, invert, cut, select none. I did that right? Yes, okay. It was that was supposed to just be a whole one-off thing, and then we were never supposed to go back to his work again. But once I had Brad, once I actually worked with the guy, and like that whole joke about that whole joke kind of like played into he needs a bigger role. And next thing and it was like, from that point, it just becomes like, I wasn't really, it's like, let's revisit it, but I wasn't really planning to sort of putting him on the bad side, but it just seemed It was just like an irresistible idea to make him working part of this master plan that's overarching the series. So that's kind of one of those things that sort of unfolded in my mind, working within that story. None. And merge down. Okay, so that's a page. Everything is still in layers. And what I will do is save this in layers. And since I've already saved it as a GIMP file, all I have to do is save instead of save as. And then once I save that, then I will flatten it. I will image, flatten it. I will flatten it to create my page. And then I will go File, Export. Export. And as long as this is still on default, it'll export it as a JPEG. Oh, excuse me. If I end up doing composite shots for individual panels that get exported as PNGs, when it comes time to export these pages, it'll try and export it as it'll offer it to order as a PNG, and I'll have to sort of adjust it, but I don't here. I can just click on that and go enter. And it'll give me this, and I'll just go export. And then I'll come to my folder. Here's my base folder where all the pictures are. I'll grab the folders and I'll move them into book 1. Into the folder book 1. Since this is book 1, all these pictures can just get dumped in this folder, and if I ever need to come back in here, this is where they'll be. And then I'll go into pages, and there's page 1. I'll give it a once over. Give it a quick look for spelling errors, that's grammar, that sort of thing. See if there's any changes I want to make. Sometimes it'll be looking at the page as a whole. I'll notice that the panels aren't lined up where I want them to be. Worst case scenario, sometimes I'll come in here and find out that a picture needs to be redone completely because of an error that I missed so far. It was a quiet night in the Smith household until... That's it, I've had it. I'm getting rid of this thing once and for all. David, you're being ridiculous again. I'm being ridiculous. This keeps happening to me, not you. Every time we have to wait 2 days for this thing to wear off because you keep using it after you use it on me. It's going in the trash where it should have gone the very first day you brought it into this house. I want to make sure this thing never causes me trouble ever again. Afternoon, David. Having fun with the family, I see. Urgh. This serves as the lead-in because you get your... because it sort of like hints to the micro thing on page 1, and at the same time this ends up being a red herring. Because ultimately this story won't be about David. This is going to be one of those that focuses on the kids instead. But that's... and since I'm sort of happy with it for now, I will go File, Open to bring up the guide again. Bring up a new guide, and I can close this. It'll tell me... It'll ask me if I want to save changes because flattening it was a change. And since I'm not saving the flattened to the GIMP file, I'll just discard that. And there's my new guide. So that's page 1. I suppose that's kind of my process. I hope it was everything I wanted it to be for you guys. Like I said, you could probably tell where I was focusing more on the work than on the narration. But like I said, this is something I was hoping to do. I'm gonna cut out because I do want to get a few pages, so I want to thank you all. I can't thank you enough. I want to thank you all, and I do really hope you enjoyed this.